Hi everyone, my name is Phoenix. I'm the CEO of Teahouse. Yes, right there. I feel honored to be here and to be put together with all this awesome crypto brands and protocols right there. I just got back from Ethereum Denver, and I'm still jet lagging. So most of this talk will be talking about what are the products we're building, and some of the language used will be part English, 然后一点中文，因为我讲中文比较好笑。对 ，So without further ado, so let's just start it. So first of all, I'm really thankful that you guys are here to listen to my small talk because this is the most weird title on the agenda today. Is a leverage DEX. The other people got like the path to the future, the cross-chain interoperability, something like that. And mine is a leverage DEX. So it's really boring. So yeah, so let's go into talk about it. And I didn't do the deck. And so you guys have to bear with me and just go ahead and start it. So this is my small notes. The title should be T-Rex, a leverage DEX built on top of the liquidity pair. T as Teahouse. Rex, the dinosaur, as the reactive liquidity DEX, something like this. And what we're building is a spot leverage DEX. It's a counterpart of the Hyperliquid or Uniswap or the other perpetual product. So Teahouse Finance, if you guys know, we started by doing the strategy on top of the Uniswap v3. Because when Uniswap v3 come out, I think it's a Red Bull. Yeah. When Uniswap v3 come out, so you can set the liquidity range between each liquidity pair. And we realized that the ordinary user cannot actually perform well on the liquidity pair. So there has to be a professional strategy layer on top of the Uniswap v3, so you can be able to make money from providing liquidity. Because most of them will be screwed by the IL, impermanent loss, right? Anybody know what IL means is? Oh, yeah, of course you do. 朱西西 over there. Yeah. And we got crushed by IL too. Because like we tried a lot of stuff. Like you can constantly rebalance your position and your IL become realized lost. It's not impermanent, it's permanent lost. And once you rebalance that more, you got a lot of like costs, fee costs. You got a lot of like position deduction. You got a lot of shit going on. So we realized that if you want to provide liquidity with a profit, you have to find a way to actually hedge somewhere else, not on the Uniswap v3. So we'll keep looking for other solutions. We try to talk with the Binance, all of the centralized exchange. We try to go with other perp DEX. But we realized the overhead is actually too big. So we realized that, I use a lot of realize. 所以我发现我必须要想办法自己盖一个 product. 所以我们做了一个 so we built a product, Teahouse, T-Rex, which is the Teahouse Reactive DEX, which is a spot exchange. So we want to discuss the relationship between the liquidity pair and the DEX. What does that mean? Usually, the liquidity pair on the Uniswap v3 provide the price to a perpetual product. So what's the relationship with them? First, there's no relationship. You have a price oracle, and you build a perpetual DEX. So all your price is coming from link, from path. You don't need Uniswap v3. You build a standalone casino for your user. You're not actually in the ecosystem, but you make money. That's great. And the other thing is the other relationship is you use a price from the liquidity pair, which is a price discovery. and you use that price as your perpetual product, like hyperliquid and GOP. But what happens recently is kind of like you realize that when a small cap token can actually scoop out all your work by manipulate the spot price. Anybody know what happened in the hyperliquidity these days? 有人知道发生什么事吗? Okay, so, yeah, exactly. So basically, the merit of the Uniswap is like when you want to list a token, you can just create a liquidity pair and you list a token. Anybody here want to list a token through Binance? It shouldn't be here. It shouldn't be in token 2049, right? Yeah. So once you do that, there's a price on the Uniswap v3. Then your perpetual DEX, you're just using that price to fit into your perpetual product. So what happens in hyperliquidity is somebody short the perpetual product on hyperliquidity and buy the spot on the liquidity pair. So actually, 其实就是让 hyperliquidity 遭受损失. So what do we do to prevent that problem? Actually, you cannot. You can overall, eventually they solve it by the centralized solution. You just use a price oracle and trace back the other trade, and everybody take a loss because you can't beat the house. I think that's the merit here. The merit is you cannot beat the house. If you beat the house and there's no game and there's no trade, then eventually all the DeFi collapse. But this is what we become. Do we want to become a standalone casino, just a house and acquiring player to play and we win their money and to sell GOP or HLP? Can we build another solution, try to solve the impossible triangle these days? There's a new impossible triangle in the DeFi strategies, in the DeFi DEX right now. Is A, you have the leverage, the huge leverage. What kind of leverage a trader can go to? Like, 就是多少杠杆它可以开？它可以开100倍吗？它可以开几倍？ That's your one asset of your triangle. B is the profitability of your staker, your lender, your GOP or HLP holder. And C is the safety of your protocol. Like, eventually you realize that you cannot actually to have these three conditions all align with your alignment. 如果你想要开很多杠杆，然后你又要你的 HLP 赚钱，谁负责扛这个损失？是不是就是 protocol？ 如果你的 protocol 想要安全，你的 HLP 的使用者想要赚钱，你势必就不能让他开那么多杠杆。如果反之亦然，如果你另外一个角度去看这件事情的话，你就会发现这个三角形是不太能够被满足的。只有一个方向能够满足这个问题，就是等一下会讲为什么。但是我们现在讲的是 ，So how do we do about this triangle? Can we just compromise it a little bit to make a new product? That's what Teahouse is doing. Because what's the ultimate goal of a DeFi goal here? What's the ultimate goal DeFi goal here is for every liquidity pair, there's a multiple liquidity pair of say Ethereum and USDC. And you got the price from multiple of them. And you probably take out the top one and the bottom one, and you generate your own price oracle from this multiple liquidity pair into your DEX product. That's kind of the most DeFi solution to this kind of question. Otherwise, you're gonna use a centralized oracle, right? Because you never know the so-called decentralized oracle, what their prices are generating from. They may be from the same origins, you never know. So in order to do that you use the multiple liquidity pair price to become your price oracle. And you cannot, because the liquidity on those pair is not that many for meme token. So you cannot require to let your trader trade like 10x, 100x of that token. Probably just do like 5x, or even 3x. So what do we do it? We actually book the protocol called T-Rex, and we help when the player want to trade, say 10x the BTC, the trader deposit $100 into our protocol, we actually lend $900 to it. And they become $1,000. And we buy spot WBTC, and we keep it there. So if the BTC price go up, the profit can go to infinity. There's no counterparty risk over there. So if the price goes down, we want to know if the price is gonna, if it hit the $100 this deposit, maybe like we can say $90, $80, whatever, we go through a liquidation process. So that's basically our protocol. So what's the marine of this protocol is actually it's like a Lego piece. You build on top of a swap, and you build on top of a lending protocol, and you help facilitate the entire blockchain transactions there. You're not a standalone casino. Because most of the time, the swap has an incentive, and the lending protocol has an incentive. So they actually help user to trade on your leverage DEX. That's our product. It's actually live today on SEI, which is a L1, SEI. There's a booth over there. People can try to open up a position and close it up. Once you do that, you get a little present from Teahouse protocol. Yeah. 我再用中文讲一次，它就是一个很简单的 spot leverage 的 DEX， 但是它实际上能够执行所谓的 blockchain transaction， 就这个交易是真实存在的，它并不是只是卖你一个金融商品，而是这个实际上就有人持有那个10倍的 BTC 的现货就在那里，然后看它价钱涨还是跌。所以，那 staker 提供这个900块的人赚什么？就是赚利息跟开仓关仓的费用。所以变成说是它并没有 liquidation 的问题，应该说问题比较少啦，不会那么夸张。那这样子的产品，我们认为在这个 DeFi 空间里面会更去中心化，并且我不敢说更有竞争力。I wouldn't say this product is more competitive, but it's more blended into the most ecosystem because all the EVM and all the L1 has its own swap and has its own lending protocol. So you build a Lego piece on top of it, then you start from there. That's basically what we do. And so why does Teahouse Finance start building this? Because eventually, if you think about what user wants, all the traders wants to 100x something, right? Or 100x long, 100x short something. But they don't need a Uniswap. Uniswap cannot provide this feature for them. 你用 Uniswap 就 swap 嘛，没办法 long 或 short 多少 x 嘛，对啊。But the other thing is, why do Uniswap still exist? Is if you are a protocol and you're issuing a token, you have to provide a liquidity pair. And you have to provide a way your user can 10x long or 10x short your token. That's why you need this. So eventually, Teahouse realized that ordinary users do not use the Uniswap or liquidity pair, provide liquidity to the liquidity pair anymore. Like, if I ask you a question, who here is excited about there's a liquidity pair APR is 1,000%? 有没有人看到一个 Uniswap 上面的 pair 叫你提供流动性，告诉你说它的 APR 是1000% 的人会感到兴奋的？没有。Why isn't that? Because we all know the IL will kill you. And we all know it's not going to last. But why is it Uniswap still exists? Because it provides a way to actually create you guys, to list you guys' token. And once you list it on Uniswap, you still need to find a way to let your user 10x or long or 10x short your product because volatility gives your token life and gives you free and gives you the actual liquidity provision, the fees. So go back to Teahouse. That was the DEX. So we're actually creating a strategy to become a more delta neutral for liquidity provision. Yeah. So I actually have some pictures. Yeah. So remember why we're doing this. We're doing this for the protocol. Because user, you can just trade it everywhere, right? So we're doing this for the protocol. So we're actually provide a strategy. We can use the DEX to make the liquidity provision on the liquidity pair more delta neutral. And this is our result. 你看我有些小抄，然后小抄都写得很烂，对。And this is our result. The result is really promising. And hence we build a lot. So we want to create a world where when you guys have a token, there's a delta neutral strategy to let people provide liquidity into your token's pair. That's gonna create a protocol's life. It's a lifeline of your protocol. Because for every protocol coming to Teahouse and ask us about how to do market making on DeFi, they only want to do one thing: how to sell our token quietly and gradually without impacting the price. And the answer is you have to have enough liquidity over there. And how do you have enough liquidity over there? When you provide liquidity into it, there has to be delta neutral. Otherwise, people will just get killed by IL. No matter how much bonus token you give, no matter how much 1,000% APRs over there, people still getting killed. So that's why we developed this strategy. Eventually, all go back to how do we grow the entire Uniswap V3, the entire DeFi system back when people are willing to provide liquidity into a liquidity pair. I bet right now, no one is doing this. 这里现在有人放钱在 liquidity pair 里面吗？不可能吗？对吧？没有嘛，是吧？ But we find a way, and we really want to do it to make it work. So the final strategy. So results, there's a mean reversion strategy based on the delta neutral strategy. The mean reversion is basically we believe something like the altcoin season is gonna come. If you think that way. So the result is like we use 10K and we kind of made 33K something. Our APR is 53%, and it actually works. And we can actually do the dynamics things. Is like we can actually accommodate when the protocol want to sell their token. Pretty much is like you use a delta neutral strategy plus a damping in your equation. Because the protocol want to sell on top of it, right? Then you become it's a new way to actually do the liquidity management. Yeah, that's basically what Teahouse is doing. But there's actually another way to solve that impossible triangle I talked before. It's called order book. 所以其实听起来蛮糟的，就是我现在看到的事情是，我觉得 order book 感觉要起来了，干。Because then you don't have that kind of problem anymore, right? So I feel like if you want to solve this problem, eventually you will see the order book coming back. Because I think right now the blockchain capability, you don't need the gas fee on top, on the on four, and you kind of need you can actually build an AI agent to help your user to sell their token on the order book, right? Like, help me sell this token 10% before above the market price within this 24 hours. You can actually build a lot of AI agents on top of it. and it's easier to do it with the order book way. But like I said, right now we're still focusing on how to make DeFi greater, which is you have to build the Lego pieces on top of each established layer 1s, layer 2s, and established protocols to become one of them. And eventually, we will together make DeFi actually meaningful. There's 5 million left. I want to talk about my trip from the Ethereum Denver. Anybody here go to Ethereum Denver this year? How was it? Not really good, right? Yeah, that's what people are saying. People take out their trading app and they think the Ethereum is going down. I don't believe so. I believe most innovative thing and most things gonna take off is going to happen on Ethereum. That's why I still believe. Teahouse Finance has been working on Ethereum EVM for like 4 years. We're still here. So we believe like eventually everything will take off and the Wi-Fi password will actually make sense to everyone. Yeah, okay. So we really hope next year Ethereum Denver will be really good and follow up the Ethereum. There's not gonna be another Ethereum Taipei? I don't think so, right? But Ethereum in Asia will be really good too. Thanks, everyone.其实我真的不知道自己在讲什么，谢谢大家，谢谢大家，谢谢大家的时间。
Thanks, Phoenix. Super cool to see how Teahouse is thinking about DEXs from ecosystems angle.